Good afternoon, YouTube. This is Max One Chase One. It's that time where I must change the fuel filter in my Volvo 420. How can I determine that? Is that, as you can see, the fuel is all the way up to here. Normal operations, the fuel level would be down in this area here. So when the fuel rises, because it's trying to find cleaner filtration in the filter, it will continue to rise till it get up here to the top. All right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how to safely remove the vent cap, remove the screw-on collar, and remove the globe and the filter. I will cover the steps on how I will change this filter by identifying the parts and which step you should do first, next, and your last step. Okay, first of all, we identified that we do have to reduce the fuel level from up at this upper level all the way down in the bowl till it gets below this collar here. So I'm going to try to drain the fuel till it gets down to here. I am beneath the filter assembly. So the first thing you want to take a look at is where's your drain petcock. Your drain petcock is right here. Take this lever here, push it down to the bottom, and fuel will begin to come out of here. And when the fuel begin to come out of here, you'll see the filter, it'll begin to drain through. Now let's take a look at some of the parts that's on the filtration system. Here you have a vent cap, which do have a strong spring under here. So you can loosen this spring, loosen this cap. You don't have nothing to worry about with this spring. This spring is being collapsed by this collar here. So make sure that when you loosen this collar here, that you do wind up and you'll see it begin to rise up. Just be careful, don't just let it fly off. Now let's take a look at some of the equipment that I will be using. As you see down below, I do have a red fuel can that's designated just for diesel fuel only. And up under that, I have another bucket, which is going to be a second catch basin, just in case I do have a little bit of run over. So if it doesn't make it into the red can, it'll fall into the bucket. I have a plastic cup, which I can use to help assist with draining the fuel out of the filter into that cup, which I can later transfer to the container. This next item is the fuel filter wrench. This is a must-have tool. As you notice on it, it says for removal only. Again, this is a must-have. We tried everything in the world to try to get that vent cap off, and it would not come. So I decided to go ahead and pay $26 for this wrench, and believe me, it will save you a whole lot of headache. Also too, notice that it do have a vent cap, which is for this section here. And notice these slots that are inside the fuel filter wrench. Each one of these slots will fit in this groove here, which will distribute equal pressure so you can get a smooth turn around the whole cap. Again, I can say that that wrench right there is a valuable tool. I may not only use it but once every 2 years from what I'm doing with my RV hauler. Believe me, I will pay for it again if I had to. Now we have established all the parts and the components of this fuel filtration system. Let's go ahead and get started. First of all, I'm going to use the wrench to show you how the wrench is used to loosen the vent cap on the top. Two, I'm going to ensure that my catch basin is set directly up under the filtration system, and that is in place. The reason that I loosen the vent cap, because if you don't have any air to enter the system, it would just come out trickly. It'll just trickle out of the bottom. So by loosening the vent cap, it causes some air to get in to the top so they'll just drain through. Now I'm going to open up the petcock and let the fuel drain into my cup. As you can notice that the fuel is going down. Get it down to here. I'm going to assume it is down to about here. And that took about an Arby's cup, about that much fuel. This is where the phone comes in handy to transfer the fuel from the cup into the containment. And then once I change the filter, I will return this fuel back into this filter housing. I will now take off the vent cap. And now I will use the wrench to loosen up the bowl ring. Notice that I am holding on to the top of the bowl because of that spring I was talking about earlier. And notice how each one of those notches fit in conjunction with the wrench. I will loosen the rest of it up with my hand. I'll notice that the pressure on the spring as I come up with it. So does the bottom cap. I can separate the two pieces. There's the ring. I will clean this ring off. This is the rubber gasket. I replaced the rubber gasket. Notice when I drained the fuel, I did take the fuel down a little bit lower than the housing here so that none of the fuel will waste over the side. So I let out just enough. Now I'm ready in the process to take the filter out, and I will remove the filter. Notice that the filter is kind of dark down through here. So also too, they have paper that's on here that you'll see on the new filter that you do not remove the paper. So now I will take this used filter and place it in my containment bucket. Now I will remove this rubber boot or seal here because the new one comes complete with a whole new rubber seal. Now let's take a look at the new filter. Again, the new filter is made out of paper. I already have the rubber insulator at the end of it that you might have seen me taking off at the last segment from the filtration system. There's the large old ring that goes right up under the twist cap. This medium rubber gasket, I have no idea what's that for. We didn't have it. And then you have this small rubber gasket that goes for the vent cap. Now let's go ahead and we'll go through the segment where we're going to put this all back together. As you remember, when I took the filter off there, it looked kind of cruddy up in there, and you were right, it was cruddy. So you can kind of see that I did clean it up. I recommend that you do this because this is your vehicle. Most people at the shop, all they want to do is change the filter, get you in there, get you out. Also too, look at the threads. The threads had dirt, road grime and all that in there, which made the screw ring hard to get off. So just go ahead and just take your time and clean up some of these items before you put it back in. Again, before we had this rubber cap that was on here. This one is already attached to the filter, so we're going to turn that right on upside down, press on it a little bit, not too much pressure, and it sits there, and that's that. Here is the globe or the bowl. Same thing. Here's the new rubber gasket. Place the new rubber gasket on. And if you notice that the other globe, it was kind of painted a little bit. I used a little paint thinner, but carburetor cleaner. Carburetor cleaner and this plastic, they do not get along, so I just used a little bit, but I did get that paint off. Again, now this piece goes right over top. Notice the spring that's already in there. Put that right over top of that. Here is the cap. Screw cap goes right over the top. Screw that right on. When you put them back on, make sure you just put them on there hand tight. A good hand tightness to be good. And that's that. Here's the vent cap and the new O-ring gasket for that one. I will put that on here, but I'm not going to put it on it because I must do what? Put diesel fuel back inside of here. So I'm going to set that off to the side right there. And now I will pour the diesel fuel back into the top of the filter. I will use a little bit more diesel fuel because I don't want to come up too high. Maybe I want to come up to about right here. Again, adding some more diesel fuel. About right there would be good. Also too, before I pour this back in from the container, I did filter the diesel fuel through a gym sock, so that's a good cotton sock, so it did catch any bits of grit that might have been in there when it drained throughout the system into the container. Now that is the position where you want your fuel level to be, so as the filter begins to get dirty, it will begin to climb, trying to find cleaner parts of the filter until they come all the way back up to the top. Now I would take the vent cap, add that in on the top. Again, I will not use the wrench on it. I would just give it a good, nice hand put on a jar tightness. Remember, this is plastic, that is plastic. Not too tight because you can break them. Okay, YouTube, other than that, all we have to do now is just do a startup. While the motor is running, the fuel level did increase from right there up to the bottom of the paper. I don't see any leaks. The engine seems like it's running smooth. So we can mark this down again as $100 per hour from the shop, and you can do it yourself.